It's the Al Travis Show, but we like to stop down and talk a little farming once in a while. When we do that, we get the farm guy. He's none other than our best friend, and he is with us every week, Jerry Groskreutz. Jerry, how are you?
Well, I know I can see you're sitting down, Al, so brace yourself.
I'm braced.
This doesn't happen very often. Hang on to your mic so you don't fall over. I'm fairly well satisfied with the weather for the time being.
See, that it is so funny because as much as you are, it's terrible. It's tough for the rest of us. A couple of reasons. So you've got, well, let's go back a week ago or so. You got 5 or 6 inches of rain, and you were concerned that you're going to have some flooding issues. That did not happen.
No, we had some flooding. We got 6 inches in about 2 hours.
Wow.
And later on this week, I'm going to be spraying my sweet corn. It's about 3 inches tall. And then I'm going to get the planter back out and change it from corn to soybeans and replant 3-4 acres of potholes that drown it out to see if something comes. Even if it doesn't amount to much, something is growing there.
Get the weeds out.
Keep some of the weeds down. And there's something that they call summer fallow, where if you just have soil that's not growing anything, it can affect next year's crop with some of the microorganisms in the soil and stuff. So Mother Nature kind of intended something to be growing. So
so for those areas that are, maximum rain, does that help though? I thought there's at some point you wanted the roots to go down further. If it has this much rain on top, are you getting shallow roots, or do you know that, or we won't know until harvest?
Well, I haven't actually gone out in the field and started digging the corn roots to see how deep they are, but they are going down. And you know how I know they're going down? Because of after all of that rain, and the corn looked kind of sick and yellow because the roots weren't developing and there was no oxygen in the soil and it wasn't able to take up nitrogen and nutrients. Well, the nitrogen may have gotten washed a little bit deeper in the soil profile. Earlier this week, all the corn is a nice deep green color. Yeah. So that tells me the roots are growing, they got down and they found the nitrogen and things are looking better. And it's kind of funny, an old timer told me once he would never replant that pothole that drowned it out, because he said if Mother Nature gave you the weather that it drowned it out once, if it gets dry enough and you replant it, the weather patterns are probably such that it will drown out again.
Yeah, well,
there's some wisdom in that, but it's hard to just leave a black hole there if it's,
it's against your better nature.
Exactly.
But with all of this, let me ask you, so you get the rain and then we get some wind and things dry up a little bit. You've seen the corn. Sorry, the rest of us all notice the corn's growing about a foot a day. It just seems like it's going like nothing. Does humidity help or hurt? I know 90 degrees in sun. You bet it's got everything it needs. Does humidity help or hurt?
Higher humidity is better for our corn.
That's too bad because
it loses less moisture through its leaves and transpiration because the humidity is higher. So I always say 85 degrees high humidity. I might be miserable. Maybe critters are miserable, but it's good for the corn and the soybeans, so I can pump it.
All right, good for you, because I'd say the other thing, I don't mind 85 degrees, but this humidity is just crushing me. And I don't know, what does it do as far as the bugs? And the only one I know is I go out in my yard now, and it's like mosquito, Armageddon going on here. They're huge, they're big, they're fat, and they're hungry. What does that do for crops? Not mosquitoes necessarily, but the bugs that is this good for bugs that would then eat the corn as well? Is this everybody's a happy camper right now?
Well, I don't worry too much about most of the bugs because the corn hybrids that I'm planting have the traits genetically engineered. So you've got the traits for most of them. You have to watch for some things to see if they're overpowering it. But for the most part, don't worry too much about that. One thing I am watching for is black tar spot that showed up in our area 3-4 years ago. And
what is a black tar spot? Is that pretty self-explanatory, Al? If you saw one, you'd know one.
That's what it's a fungus, and it was first found here 3-4 years ago, maybe. And the reason they call it black tar spot is because it makes little black spots on the corn leaves, and if it comes in earlier in the season, can have a significant impact on yields. So it's pretty standard procedure now that long about the time the corn is tasseling, you spray a fungicide on, and that should protect you. and hopefully then you wouldn't have to spray it again. In a rare year, I guess you might have to spray twice, but we haven't seen it yet.
How do you get underneath? Mushrooms, fungicide is interesting. My parents' lawn, we'd cut a tree down last summer. They left their roots in the ground and put some dirt over it. Well, it watered so much that now you got a rotting, root under there and enough water. She's got mushrooms growing out of the ground. I mean, we never had those. I'm chopping them down. How do you, even with a fungicide, you say that you spray them on the corn. How are you getting underneath the corn to get the fungus and the mildew and all the rest? How does that work?
Well, you either have a sprayer do it with a high clearance sprayer, so they put the boom above
The canopy.
tassels of corn, and you're probably spraying 40, 50 pounds of pressure, so you're driving it down into the canopy. Or I typically have a crazy maniac do it, who's called a crop duster pilot.
Oh, love watching them. Can't believe what they're doing. Can't believe it at all.
You can't help but watch it. But think, if I mess up sometime when I've been out in the field for hours, maybe I have a big repair bill because I hit the tree with the unloading auger on the combine, or maybe I wrapped the planter marker into something. They make a mistake just once, they're dead.
Oh, yeah. No, it's nothing to do what they do. And they'll take somebody down when they're flying over the roads. I don't get this, but let me ask you this quick. I presume when you're planting, you got a computer now, I suppose, to get straight rows, you've got to know exactly this. How in the world does a plane know, okay, I did those 12 pieces, I fly, 12 rows, I fly back around, and he gets the right rows again? Is he counting rows? Is there a marker somehow?
No, they're using GPS too.
Really?
In fact, my cousin Chad works for a crop duster. He'll get going here pretty soon now. And my cousin's back at the airport getting things ready, getting the maps ready. And when the plane comes in, while they're filling up the plane, my cousin gives him the maps of where he's going and GPS. He flies to that area and then controls.
All right. And they must do windage and stuff like that. I mean, you ruined that whole set. They got to know where that stuff's flying to. All right. Jerry, I got to go to break. When we come back, the Farm Bureau comes out with your 4th of July cook-off costs. Can we talk about that after the break?
You bet. As long as you're cooking.
Oh, it doesn't cost Jerry nothing if he gets invited somewhere. We'll be back after this. Jerry Groskreutz on the Al Travis Show. He's Jerry Groskreutz, farmer extraordinaire, and he's right here on the Al Travis Show. This is from the Farm Bureau. Every year, the American Farm Bureau Federation sends out volunteer shoppers. They go across the country. They buy up your usual 4th of July medley of stuff, cheeseburgers, chicken breast, homemade potato salad, desserts. I can't believe hot dogs wasn't in there. Come on, who's not doing dogs on the 4th of July?
Well, I was going to ask you where are the hot dogs, because that's one of my favorites.
That was actually a trivia question last weekend at this thing we were doing, and it was like the number one thing that people think of when they think of 4th of July, the hot dog. This year costs about $70 to feed 10 people, just underneath the 2024 price, second highest price ever since they've been doing this cost analysis. Is it that bad? Well, first off, anybody making their own potato salad? This is handmade potato salad. You're buying Mrs. Jerry's, aren't you? You buy the big old tub. It's fantastic. Why are we wasting time making tater salad?
Well, that's what I would do, because you just go to the grocery store and
there it is.
Yeah. It's magic. Just shows up there by magic.
I don't know where they pick potato salad. It must be a small portion of the country, but they do it well. What does your 4th of July include, Jerry? You going to be up waiting for fireworks somewhere? What is the 4th of July at the Groskreutz home?
Well, I'll be getting up at 3:15, just like normal on Friday morning.
Yep.
Be into the studio about 4:30, do the usual stuff, and then the North Morristown annual picnic and parade, and then they have a patriotic program, and for decades, we have broadcast that, so our news director, Gordy, will be over there, and I'll be back here at the studio. and it's really cool. It's about 30 years ago. I never even heard of North Morristown. You've heard of
Okay.
Morristown?
I've heard
There's
of
a
Morris.
North Morristown.
The suburb, the elite suburb
Yeah.
of Morristown.
And it's amazing. It's like the old fashioned picnic that our great grandparents would have gone to.
Yeah.
There's a
Oh, that's
church
very cool.
in a big area, and they got games and pies, homemade
Fun.
pies. It's like an old fashioned 4th of July.
I love that. I love that a lot. The other thing is the one radio station, WJN, reporting it's going to cost little less this year for pork chops, potato chips, and hamburgers. Other products more. Hamburgers are increased by 50 cents over last year, highest price ever. Despite the avian flu, chicken prices are down, dropped 4%. How is that possible, Jerry? Remember eggs? Oh, eggs. There's so much you're never going to buy another egg again. What happened to the egg people, the chicken people? They have got their stuff together.
Yep, and they got repopulated. And one of the major changes, and because it didn't make any sense to me, but when Secretary Rawlings came in, she said that they were euthanizing millions of chickens that they didn't have to when one barn broke with highly pathogenic avian influenza. I
Yes.
did a little bit of checking. The standard procedure in the past was if this barn broke and had the disease, they draw a circle and any other buildings on that site, it might be a couple 100 feet away or more, but
Yeah.
they all had to be depopulated. And they changed it, said, okay, the ones in this barn, we're going to depopulate this barn, but we aren't going to depopulate that barn until it breaks, if it breaks. So
Gotcha.
that was one of the major changes, apparently, that they did.
Well, I read, and now it's been a year ago, but Mexico and Canada do not depopulate. They don't tear them down. I presume they're keeping people from going one to the next and spreading it that way. But they let 90% of the birds just die, thinking that the 10 or so that survive will then be
Immune.
have immune to it
Natural
for the
immunity.
next Yeah. So I don't know that there isn't some bright thought to that. I'm no scientist, but isn't there something? You kill them all off because you don't want them to get the flu, then that same flu bug can do it to the next batch.
The only downside to that argument is if this barn breaks, 90% of them are going to die anyway, and it's going to be a miserable
But
death for them. So the humane way is euthanize them, they use carbon dioxide, and
yeah,
they just go to sleep. The reason for doing that is, and there's some validity to it, is that they start to decrease the amount of virus in the environment by
yeah, yeah,
eradicating it there. So you stamp that out, so it's less likely to spread to the next barn and the next barn. Whereas if you leave all those birds with all that virus in
yeah.
there growing and expanding, well, you're letting the potential for a lot more virus out in the environment to spread. So that's the argument for if one barn breaks, to euthanize it. Now, I have to believe, though, that our microbiologists and our scientists haven't been able to take some birds, the ones that did survive that would have the
Yeah,
natural immunity. Well, you'd have to think that they're working on it, trying to
I would
develop
think.
a vaccine then to protect the other birds. So hopefully, in fact,
Well,
I did hear that there is a vaccine now, but then you get into that nasty stuff about we want to export food.
yeah, and they won't let, because they
Yeah,
got too many shots. Let me ask you on the execution, though, and I don't get to, but you talk about carbon monoxide, the barn. Maybe I'm missing something. When I drive by, these aren't airtight. How in the world would you even do that? They'd put a big tent over the whole top? How would you even do that?
it's
Yeah.
firefighting foam.
Oh, with carbon monoxide in it?
Yeah, yeah. No, well, the foam. How does the fire department? When I use foam to put out a fire, it eliminates the oxygen, right? It
Okay.
eliminates the oxygen when you right in there. So
Oh, that is interesting.
yeah,
Okay. I didn't.
there is
Okay.
humane way. They just all at once they're still breathing, but they just aren't breathing any oxygen. So they get tired and they go to sleep. And
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. There's something I did not know. Let me throw one last one out. This big, beautiful bill is supposed to be done here by the end of the week. Does that have anything to do with you farmers? Is the farm bill in that? Is there anything that I can glean off of that?
there are some commodity provisions that got taken out of the farm bill, and apparently it's in the big beautiful bill, like raising reference prices, raising the safety net a little bit, because the safety net that we have for the row crops was put in 8 years ago.
Okay.
So expenses have changed a little bit in 8 years. And so
So,
apparently I've heard that that's in there, but everything is still in flux until it's actually passed now in the Senate. And then what is the House going to do with it? Is there going to have to be a conference committee, or will the House just approve it? And then we'll find out what's in it. Now, if I was a truly dedicated farm broadcaster, I would have watched TV for about 16 hours while the Senate read every page of the 900 and some page bill. Then I would know exactly if it was still in there or not.
and you know what? And I didn't watch it. You're right. If I was a real American, I would have sat there for 16 hours listening to the most boring television ever. But they don't make those senators do it either, right?
No.
Some poor page out of Minnesota said, I get to go be a page at the U.S. Capitol. It's the greatest day of my life. And she goes, start reading. And just keep reading. I mean, yeah. All right. Jerry, you know I love having you on. I hope you have a very Merry 4th of July. I hope things are good for you and yours.
Yep, we'll have a good time, and we'll be enjoying the weather.
Oh, and watching the corn grow inches at a time.
And I don't care if it's too hot and miserable for you to golf, as long as it's good for my corn.
You know, I can golf through anything as long as I get enough off to keep the mosquitoes off me and my golf ball. Holy smokes, it's been tough out there. He's Jerry Groskreutz. He's farmer extraordinaire. We love having him on the program. We'll get him back next week. More after this on the Al Travis Show.